Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking to you about part 2 of Wings of Courage, and this is overcoming the flying anxiety step by step. It's just some ideas for you to get started for your step-by-step to get an anxious person to overcome the fear of flying. If that's you, awesome. And if it's not you, I think this is well worth listening to because I bet there might be an anxious flyer in your life, and you can really use these tips and tools that we're going to go over so that you could help somebody that you're flying with. And let's always remember as we start out on a guide to get through things is to remember our friend Claire Weeks and her 4-point philosophy when we are dealing with any kind of stress, anxiety, or panic. We want to face, accept, float, and let time pass. So you could review the face piece on episode 987 and 988, the accept piece in 997 and 998, the float piece of Claire Weeks' 4-point philosophy in episode 1020 and 1021. And I haven't done letting time pass yet. That will be coming. Please hang with me. Those episodes can help to prepare your nervous system before and during the flight experience. But I really think that being ready beforehand, practicing beforehand is what we want to do. So first up, we want to acknowledge and accept your fear. Recognize that feeling anxious about flying is normal and that many people share similar fears. We don't have to go into that. I'm a weirdo. Why this has happened to me? There's something wrong with me. No, you're fine. You're nervous about flying. It's okay. Lots of people are. And like I've said before in the other episode 1030, you may also be excited. And that may have kicked up the fact that you have excitement running through you. Those hormones could be letting your amygdala know, geez, something's wrong here. These are anxious kind of messages I'm getting, but it's really excitement. So it gets confused. But you can work on that over time. And I want you to also accept that your fear is valid, but it's temporary and it doesn't define you. So please be kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself, just like you would if you had a little person flying next to you who was nervous. Be kind to yourself and tell yourself that the excitement is not to be feared. Those sensations and feelings running through you, just let them run through you. You don't have to be afraid of them. But where our mind goes is, uh-oh, here we go again. No, just be curious about them and let them run their course. I also want you to start to educate yourself about flying. I hit on this a little bit in episode 1030, but I want you to learn about how planes work, the physics of the flight, the safety procedures, and the statistics on air travel safety. I've worked with people who found this very comforting. Me personally, that probably wouldn't mean a lot to me, but to some people, once they started learning and understanding more about the planes, the aerodynamics, the physics of the flight itself, they felt like, oh, they had learned something. It made sense to their head. Their brain got a message, oh, this makes sense. So learn more, educate yourself. Maybe understanding the mechanics of flying can demystify the experience and alleviate some of that anxiety of the unknown. When you know more about it, you can just talk yourself down. You could also work on identifying specific triggers. Identify what triggers your anxiety is popping up around about flying. Is it the turbulence? Is it the takeoff, the landing, the airport environment, the hustle and bustle of actually getting to the airport on time without missing a flight? Or is it something else? Is it being cramped up in a small space with a lot of other people you don't know? Maybe you're in that center seat and you're between two complete strangers. That's a little weird, right? So maybe that's kicking something up in you. Maybe that's a trigger. Understanding your triggers can help you to develop targeted coping strategies. This is great fodder for working with me as we can get right down to where it is that you are ramping up your anxiety and find solutions to keep the nervous system from going into high anxiety or panic. You could practice relaxation techniques. You could practice deep breathing exercises. You could practice that longer, slower exhale. I want you to get really good with both of those things, deep breathing exercises and the longer, slower exhale before you fly. Practice this with your meditation so that when you need to call it up, when you're starting to feel some stress rising in you, you can just revert to your longer, slower exhale and maybe head it off completely. You could also do progressive muscle relaxation, or you could do mindfulness meditation to help calm your mind and body. Remember, you got a long flight. Why not relax into the fact there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do? You could actually meditate. You could actually do that progressive muscle relaxation you've been wanting to try. Make sure it's on your phone before you go and it's ready for you. You could do my 10-minute body scan meditation. This is a great thing to do on the trip. Like I said in the last show, grab it for your next trip. The link is in the show notes, or you can find it at the website. But these are things that people always say, I don't have time. I don't have time to do a 10-minute body scan meditation. Well, maybe the first time you get to try it is on your next flight. Maybe you wanted to do a longer progressive muscle relaxation. The plane is the perfect place to do it. It's doing double duty. You're doing something you've been looking forward to doing but not found the time, and you are keeping your body in a calm and happy state as you are flying. What a great experience to be flying and having yourself in a relaxed, calm state. These techniques can be used before and during the flight to manage your stress levels and anxiety and promote relaxation. You could do gradual exposure. Now, gradually exposing yourself to flying-related stimuli is going to desensitize yourself to the experience. So you can start with smaller steps, really tiny steps, such as driving to the airport. You know, driving to the airport can be stressful, or somebody else is driving you, whatever, but just going there. Go to the airport. You don't have to be flying anywhere, just go there. Maybe you can be, the designated driving to the airport person like I kind of am here. I'm always taking somebody to the airport. Not getting on the plane all the time, but I'm used to going to the airport. Try that as your first little step. Maybe you could watch videos of takeoffs and landings, like get used to what that looks like and maybe how it might be feeling. Or you could be sitting in a stationary plane. That looks like a tough one. I don't know many people who are able to arrange that, but it's a possibility. You could actually start taking short flights. Maybe you're not going to take, a cross-country flight as your first flight when you're trying to work on desensitizing, but maybe a smaller flight, a shorter flight, and get used to it. You could gradually increase the duration and the distance as you become more comfortable. Now, I think that that's not always possible because we don't always have short distances to go to. If you can do that, that's awesome. If not, I want you to do these other steps, such as watching some videos, getting used to going to the airport. It's a really good way to just be able to start thinking about this. Doesn't have to be the big ordeal that we might have made it up to in our mind. Sometimes we have to challenge the negative thoughts and beliefs we have around a certain trigger, and in this case, flying. And we have to use rational and positive alternatives. Often we get a thought or an idea in our mind and we let it take up residence without even questioning if it belongs there. It's perfectly fine to give your anxious thoughts a little pushback. You can simply ask, is that true? That's a great start. Replace the catastrophic thinking with more realistic and reassuring thoughts, such as, I've flown safely before and I can do it again. Or, turbulence is normal and it doesn't mean that the plane is in danger. You can come up with your own little reassuring thoughts. Like you could have one about the pilots know exactly what to do with the turbulence if it's turbulent. Because turbulence is a big one for people. It feels horribly uncomfortable and you feel like you're out of control. You don't know what's happening, but you can remember the turbulence is normal. That doesn't mean the plane is in danger. The pilots know exactly what to do in this situation. You could also get more help. You could seek help from a coach, a therapist, a counselor who has helped people with anxiety disorders and flying phobias, and get some personalized guidance, coping strategies, and support that's tailored to your needs. I work with people with their flying both individually and in the group, so don't hesitate to reach out for more help. In the group, we have talked about this many times, and often people bring it up when they are having to make vacation plans or they have to take a business trip, and then we work through it. And each time it changes because they have gone through it more than once. A lot of people get therapy and they're going through either CBT or DBT, and exposure therapy can be part of that as an effective approach for overcoming specific phobias, including the fear of flying. So if you are in therapy, be sure to bring this flying issue up in session. Now, I'm coming around now to using some distraction techniques. I don't like distraction as a regular practice in daily, that you do the same distraction over and over again, because then we become avoiding. But when you are flying, keep yourself distracted during the flight with activities that you like, such as listening to music, watching movies. What a perfect time to catch up on movies, or reading, or engaging in conversation if you're a people person. You could also do drawing. There's so many things you could do that you're just there where you got the little desk right there, your table. I mean, it's the perfect time. It's perfectly fine also to get your mind off the catastrophic thoughts and let you settle into the flight. Plan these out ahead of time. and have the things you need with you. If you need to have certain pencils and paper for drawing, have that with you. If you need certain apps or downloads on your phone, make sure you're set up. Set yourself up for success. You could focus on activities that you enjoy and that can help divert your attention away from the anxious thoughts if they start to creep up. Some of our group members have shared their favorite flight pastimes and comfort items that they bring on the plane. So what would keep you comfy, cozy, and occupied enough to let the lizard brain stand down? Make a list of those. You can utilize some support systems. Now, you can actually inform the flight crew about your fear of flying, or that you're an anxious flyer, or that you just have anxiety in general. They are trained to assist nervous passengers, and they can provide reassurance and support throughout the flight. I know a few pilots, and they agree this is a wonderful thing to do. The flight crew is happy to know who is anxious, who's an anxious flyer, for extra assistance if needed. It makes their lives easier to know ahead of time. Another thing you could do for support is to travel with a supportive friend or family member who can offer encouragement and companionship during the journey. And the thing I want you to do is celebrate your progress. I want you to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Each step that you take toward overcoming your fear of flying is significant. And I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for taking the flight, and carry this experience with you as you go forward. Carry it in your back pocket. That was a great flight. I did it. Hooray for me. And recognize and reward yourself for your bravery and your perseverance. It's not easy, and you may feel tired afterwards, but you did it. Remember that overcoming the fear of flying is a gradual process that requires patience, practice, and perseverance. Be kind to yourself. And don't hesitate to seek help if needed. With determination and support, you can learn to fly with confidence and enjoy the freedom of air travel. I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you have specific questions about your fear of flying, send them in. We can jump in and answer a whole bunch of those if they come in, and really get specific with you. I'd love to be able to do that. You can send those to anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com, or you can go on our website on the contact page and send us a message that way. I'll be back with you in another few days. And now for today's quote. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. And that's from Eleanor Roosevelt. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.